8:06 is the time in the studios of Q95FM radio. It is a wonderful night in Dominica. Let me just say hello to everyone, every listener, everyone tuned in and locked in to the program. Always a pleasure to be here to bring you an In the Spotlight radio show. A gentleman met me, and if he's listening, I just want to say hello to him. He said I gave him a GP for a few months, but technically it was not my fault, and I tried my best to get it going once I was able to. But we are here, we started, and I think this is our number one guest. We've had a few guests, as a matter of fact, since we started, and tonight is absolutely no different. Let me thank all of you who've been there supporting the program, supporting the efforts, being patient, and participating in the Facebook Lives and everything. It is a holiday. Good evening to you, my dear Ferdina. It is a holiday in the US. I suspect some of my frequent US viewers may be out and about. I hope you're indoors though. My preference would be for you to be indoors with this COVID. But if you're out and about, that's okay as well. The listeners on Q95 FM radio, I always say to you that this is in fact a radio program. We just stream it via social media so the folks can get to see. They have an option of viewing if they choose to have that option. So tonight, let us begin by again acknowledging Q95 FM. I love to do this every Monday night that I come here because this program it's a program that I came up with, and Q95 has given me the platform, the time slot to be able to do this program, and I continue to thank Mr. Gregoire. I'll tell you that this gentleman has almost zero interference in my program. He may have recommended a guest or two along the way, but that's about it. And I really want to thank him for that. It is appreciated. People like to have their free will, especially if you're doing something good. You like to have your free will to be able to do it without interference. And I really do appreciate that from Q95 FM radio. Thanking Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, both myself and my guest have our topic of water to take us through, the dry mouth that may come along the way. You just sip a little and you're good to go. Want to say good evening to everyone who are our fans on social media. We have our ITS radio show group, our fan group. So you go on there, request membership, and we'll be happy to welcome you to be a member of our group. By the way, tomorrow morning you will see first there who the next guest is for the program. So you need to become a part of our group. In that way you get to know who is the next guest before anybody else does. So tomorrow morning we will have our video ready to post as to who our next guest is on the program. I always invite you as well to follow me on my pages. So I have my public page, which is Ferdina Frampton. That's my public page. And my regular page is Ferdina Frampton. I'm at my max of friends, so you simply just need to click on the follow button, and you can get to see what I do. I have quite an active Facebook page, so feel free to follow me. Unfortunately, if you sent me a friend request and I've not accepted your friend request, it is because I am unable to do so. So thank you everyone for tuning in to the program tonight. We have a guest that I'm understanding has not in a while done this type of interview. I do not call my programs interviews, I call it a conversation, because I feel it's just me and my guest, probably just sitting at a table somewhere, just chilling and having maybe a drink or two, who knows, and just, having a conversation. And this is what the In the Spotlight radio show is all about. People ask me, you know, how are you able to get some of the guests that you do? And it is because I think my reputation on the show precedes me in that, you know, people already know that they're going to be comfortable, they're not going to be embarrassed, they're not going to be barraged or anything of the sort. They're just going to have a wonderful conversation with someone who respects them and, you know, that kind of thing. So we're happy to have you joining us tonight. Those of you who are already on the Facebook Live, I'm just sharing it to the other platforms. So it's also on the In the Spotlight radio show page. It's on the fans group. It's in the fans group, and it's also on my page. So we are good to go for tonight's program. Again, good evening to everyone, wherever you are tonight. Tune in to the program. Let's get things started. I'm seeing the request for the need to see my face. As I said, you know, this is not a whole social media production. This is a radio program, and the camera is on the guest. I'm actually alone with my guests, so I really do not have the time to be moving cameras around and doing all of that. So accept the guest for now. Okay, 13 minutes past 8 o'clock. Let's get things going here on tonight's program. And let me say good evening to my guest, Mark Murray. We call him for short, but I think the name is a bit longer.
Yeah, McCarthy.
McCarthy Murray.
Right.
McCarthy Murray.
Right.
That's a nice name, Mr. Murray. It's not a name that I've heard.
Right.
Mark is common.
Yeah, sure.
But not
McCarthy.
Not McCarthy.
I think my father named me after the notorious American senator.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Who was that notorious senator?
Joseph McCarthy.
Joseph
He was
McCarthy.
chasing down communists everywhere.
Oh my goodness, what are you chasing, Mr. Murray? I'll tell you what you're chasing.
Well, that's the thing, not communists.
Oh my goodness.
In fact, I have a story about communists.
You want to share a story with us about communists? You can share it quickly as we start.
Well, while I was going to St. Mary's Academy, one day the brothers tell me they want to see my mother. So I said, okay, what time of that? And I told her, she came. And of all things, they were telling me or telling her that I'm a communist.
What?
Yeah, it's kind of a little weird.
How old were you?
Maybe 15,
And
14.
you were communist. Was it your thinking? Was it your behavior? What was it that would make them say that?
I think because I liked to read, and they put Karl Marx's Das Kapital, Engels' books, Karl Marx Communist Manifesto.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they were big books.
You looked for your
The
trouble,
Communist
Mr. Murray.
Manifesto wasn't that big, but the Das Kapital was pretty big. And since I love to read, I read the biggest books because it would take longer to read. So I was reading these books, which they put in the library, and it was concluded that I was in cahoots with some communists. I don't know where they were, or maybe they thought I was the person who was going to start the Communist Party in Dominica.
Were they serious though?
But yeah, they were serious enough to call my mother and have discussion with her.
Oh my goodness. That's an interesting something to learn about you here this evening. Are you a communist, Mr. Murray?
No.
You're not a communist,
No.
but you read
Sure.
about communism. Yes, you do.
So I read the Communist Manifesto. I read Karl Marx's works. Yeah, I read.
Okay. then you can't blame them then.
Philosophy, Hegel,
So that actually brings us to my poll before we officially formally begin our conversation, although we've already begun. That brings me to my poll on social media. So I do a little poll about my guests ahead of the program. So for you, I said, what does Mark Marie enjoy doing the most? And there were 3 options. So we had writing music or songs. We had copyright management, because we know you very well for that. And we had studying, acquiring knowledge. Now, interestingly, what is the answer to that?
the last one.
The last one.
Right.
That got the least votes.
Got the least votes.
It got the least votes.
Imagine that.
It actually got the least votes. So
Okay.
all the others, actually writing music and songs, got the most
Right,
votes,
right.
followed closely by copyright management,
Right.
and then studying and acquiring knowledge got the least votes.
Well, if those who talk about copyright would have known a little bit of how I get to know about copyright, they would have known immediately it is the third thing.
It is the third
Because
thing.
I learned about copyright just like I learned about a lot of different things by reading about.
So tell me, what is your fascination with reading and studying, as you indicated your favorite thing to do though?
Actually, I don't know, because a lot, like I remember learning ABC in school, in Wesley Primary School, with a teacher called Teacher Noelis Abraham. So I was there. And for some reason, I can't ever remember learning to read. But it seemed to me as if I always read. So I found reading fascinating.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's
I
it.
just read everything.
You read. So
Yeah.
on a daily basis, you read.
Yeah, I always read.
You pick up something
Yeah.
and
Like I
you
read the
read.
Bible at least 5 times.
Seriously?
Well, yeah, because I was going to school in Roseau, then we go to the country for holidays. There's no library in Wesley, anything of the sort. But you had a library at home, a Bible at home. Since I was in Catholic school, I was kind of familiar with that. And so I was reading the Bible.
So you've read it about 5 times.
Yeah, but it's just kind of interesting.
It was interesting. Can you quote stuff from the Bible?
Not really.
Not
But
really?
Yeah, a few things that everybody quotes.
John 3:16 and so on. All right, Mr. Murray, let's get to know you a bit. I was actually intrigued just a while ago before we came on when you told me you've not really done this type of in-depth conversational interview ever. So for me, I feel privileged to be able to get to have the opportunity to have that chat with you
Right.
on that level. Let us begin our conversation around your roots, Mr. Murray. Tell me about your roots. Where did you grow from?
Well, I was born in Wesley in 1949, which gives me 71 years this year.
You are 71 years old.
Yeah, a couple of months. Right.
Wow, congratulations. That's a milestone in my view. You've passed 70.
Yeah.
Yeah, which they say is the average, isn't that the average lifespan? 70 or something?
I think it's about 74. I think.
74?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So yes, you're 71.
Yeah.
All right, you people, our mature people in Dominica are just aging gracefully. You look well.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Yeah, so I was born there in 1949. I went to the Wesley Primary School till I was 9 years old. At which point in time, my mother decided I should go to school elsewhere in Roseau at the school run by the nuns, the Catholic school, which is known as the prep school. Okay? It's a convent prep school.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah. So that's where I continued my primary school education. From 9 till time to go to secondary school. And since we were in a Catholic school, we went to another Catholic school, we didn't take common entrance exams.
No.
No.
So you don't know what that experience is?
No. It would have been terrifying to me either, because I found school very easy.
You found school.
What I found hard in school, convent prep, was arts and crafts. Yeah. And up till now I can't draw a stick man, which causes me grief.
You have other talents, I'm sure.
I just couldn't.
You just couldn't get through it.
Couldn't do that.
Art and craft.
Yeah.
But
well, like the craft thing to cut paper.
And
I did it a little bit,
mm-hmm.
but they like the drawing things and.
That wasn't working out for you.
Yeah.
Okay. But in terms of moving from one Catholic school to the next, wasn't there any type of examination that you had to do?
No. Since you succeeded in the last class at the preschool, you were ready for the next class, which was the first class in St. Mary's Academy.
Okay. All right. So you went straight to St. Mary's Academy.
Yeah.
All right. And let us go back a bit, Mr. Murray. I'm not sure how much you can remember from your days in Wesley, but when I speak about getting to know a little bit more about your roots, I want to know more about your family history. I want to know about your mom, your dad. Who were they? What did they do?
Okay. I will start a little bit further than my mom and dad.
That works for me.
My paternal grandfather was called Excellent Murray. So the people who know of Mr. Excellent Murray.
Excellent was the gentleman's name?
Yeah.
Okay.
And well, he was an excellent man.
Okay.
And his mother was a Carib lady. Yeah. So I've carried
Kalinago.
Kalinago.
That's right.
At the time they said Carib. Right?
Okay.
So excuse me for that. And my mother was the daughter of an Antiguan policeman named Tom. So all the Toms in Dominica are related to me and my mother's side.
But his first name was what?
I never heard his first name.
No?
It was strange enough. Yeah. I didn't know him either.
Okay.
So the Toms are my relatives on my mother's side. The Murrays are my relatives on my father's side, as well as the Powells, because my grandmother was a Powell. Yeah, so most of my relatives, well, closer relatives, are from like Calibishi and all the way around Portsmouth and Bourne and so on there. So a lot of relatives there. On my father's side, and there are some relatives in Marriott and Granby. On my mother's side, which are the Toms, yeah.
I don't know why, Mr. Murray, for some reason, I thought you had some French roots.
Well, they seem to have been somewhere in the past, because I know my grand cousin, I suppose you call him, who was the president of Dominica, Williams Murray, used to go to Toulouse more or less every year, but was as a civil servant in the British civil service. He was entitled to not a year, but a trip to Europe, basically, as part of the, and he always went to Toulouse to his relatives. And he went to school actually in Lycée Chelsea in 41st.
So there may be a little bit of that somewhere. There may be a little bit of that somewhere. So what did your family do? I know you said one was a policeman from Antigua.
That's my grandfather on my mother's side.
Yes.
But my mother and father, well, they did what everybody in Wesley did.
Farming.
Yes. And my father happened to, and my grandfather used to be what they call a supervisor on the road, which at that time was a hell of a big, important job. Yeah. So my parents were basically farmers, like everybody else in Wesley, Marigot, Woodford Hill, etc. Except for the few people who were like teachers or people actually didn't join the police force.
No?
No. So there were very few people from West up till now who are members of the police force.
So primarily farming.
Yeah.
Primarily farming. Did you take anything from the farming elements? Do you plant? Do you grow anything?
Well, I learned a couple of things. Like I learned about the fact that vanilla will not grow if you don't fertilize it yourself. So I used to go with my mother. I remember that upon our land, when she would be fertilizing the vanilla. That is a painstaking thing that you have to take one flower from the male, and put it in the female, and hope that they catch, and then you eventually have beans, long beans, and then you pick the beans and dry them, and you have vanilla. So kind of remember.
That sounds like a child making process.
Yes, that's how it was, because well, if you know pawpaws, you have to have 2 trees to have fruits. If you only have 1 tree, you're unlikely to have any fruits, unless there's somebody who has a tree somewhere in the vicinity that some bird or bee or whatever will transfer the pollen. Otherwise, because pawpaws are sexes. It's female or it's male. So if you have them around, then they naturally more likely will have males and females, and you'll have fruits.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's similar for vanilla.
And so your mother...
And then, because the pollination process depended on bees and insects, but you couldn't depend too heavily on them. So you had to help them along to make sure you had bees.
So that's at least one thing you learned from your parents.
I learned other things, but that's one of those,
in terms of
say, not so obvious things. That I learned.
All right, Mr. Marisa, you said at some point your mother decided that you had to, but how much do you remember from your, I mean, I know you're 71. Some of the guests who come here within that age range, sometimes they remember, sometimes they don't. And we clearly understand, because I mean,
I remember clearly.
You remember clearly?
Yeah.
So tell me about your 9 years that you spent in Wesley and what that was like.
9 years in Wesley, where I spent most of it catching birds with traps and stuff like that. And running around in the bush, That was what fun was.
That was what fun was for you?
Yeah. Well, basically for everybody in the village. But there wasn't much money around that time. Because the banana business had not really got going yet. It was just around the late 50s it got going. Yeah. So that's what they did. You run around the bush and make catapult to shoot birds and climb mango trees and get mangoes and that sort of thing.
The usual stuff. Michael Henderson is viewing and she cannot believe that you're 71. She put 71 question mark. Wow.
Well, about the 71 business there. When I used to go to the bank, I'll go in the senior citizens line, and everybody is scowling at me as if I'm
like, what you doing there?
Well, that's
no, but seriously, you do not look 71. I don't know what 71 is supposed to look like, but I'm saying you clearly do not look 71. But anyway, we're going back to the 9 years old. So at 9, your mother, what was your mother's name?
Regina.
Regina decides that Mark McCarthy needs to go to school in the city, in Roseau.
Yes.
What made her decide that though? What was the deciding factor, if you are aware at all?
Well, she said some things I think wasn't really true. She said that the principal of the school didn't like me.
Oh my goodness.
He happened to be living. The principal happened to be living next to us. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but as far as I know, the principal didn't have no particular interest in me because I was in the first grade, basically, and the school was just one big empty thing, and the principal was up on the stage at the other end with the older students. So, although I knew him because he lived next to me at school, me and him didn't have any interaction. But anyway, so what that did, that was supposedly the story that was given to me.
So your principal did not like you, who was your neighbor?
Yeah.
And so she was going to send you Lake Roseau.
Right, in the other school. And my mother is the person, when she gets an idea in the head, she does it. It doesn't matter what everybody thinks or whatever, she is going to do it. So here's how that happened. Wesley had no police station, which meant Wesley had no telephone. The telephone was in Marigot.
Right.
Okay, that's where they had a police station and some treasury thing and so on, hospital and all of that. So when you go into Roseau, you can't, and private citizens more or less, nobody had private phones. You couldn't call and say, I'm coming tomorrow, da 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 da. You just went. And when you arrived, you would announce yourself. So she brought me with her, and at that time, the road to Roseau had just been opened. A year or two before it had been opened. That is the road from Concord over to Bells, then come up to Port Castile. Yeah, and it had just been opened so you could drive a vehicle there. And my brother was one of the first persons to drive.
Truck or what?
Truck, yeah. He was one of the first persons in Dominica to drive. So we went.
Older brother?
Older brother, yeah. Yes. He's older than me and by 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah, very much alive.
Is he?
Yes. He had the COVID in the States, he survived it. So,
oh, thank goodness.
Yeah,
yes.
A strong man. Strong people. Yeah, so we came to town, we went up by the nuns and what I explained herself, blah, blah, blah. They said, well, yeah. And they gave me an exam, and I passed the exam. So they said, okay, yeah, he can come, he'll go in this class, whatever. Now, that time, you couldn't live in Wesley and go to school in Roseau. Matter of fact, at that time, you couldn't live in Grand Bay and go to school in Roseau.
So how did that happen?
So, it means you had to live in Roseau. Yes. So, she had a friend who lived Kennedy Avenue. Somewhere, not on Kennedy Avenue, just on the other street there, Great George Street. But, well, it's opposite the old Muslim store. So we went there and she...
So did her friend have any idea you were coming?
No.
Or that she was coming?
No. There was no way to... there was a way.
Goodness.
The way would be to write a letter.
Right. So she didn't write a letter?
No, but the letter is going to take...
But Mr. Murray, but
2 weeks before it
but wait, Mr. Murray, so how your mother can just show up with you to somebody's home and say...
Yeah. No, but wasn't better than that.
It was better than that?
Yeah.
Talk to us.
So she comes there, I'm there, so I made everything that's been said.
9 years
She's
old.
explaining, blah, 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 going to go to the school by the nuns and so on. I said, need a place for me to stay, blah, blah, blah. And the lady says, oh boy, that's not possible. because she was a huckster. So she used to do huckster to Barbados. That's what people used to do huckster. My aunt actually used to do huckster to Barbados from Portsmouth. So she said, but those people are across the road there on Kennedy Avenue. And if you go up Kennedy Avenue, just opposite Singer, you will see a building with a shop that's a big brown door. It's closed a lot of the time.
Madness.
Well, I don't know, maybe people at that time were different kind of people.
They had to be.
But she goes there, so she tells me, let's go. So we go there and she gives the story and so on, and people say, sure, no problem.
Just like that.
When he come in, so well, you have to go back up and come down.
So you have to go and get your clothes and so on.
Yeah.
And just like that.
And who are the people? The people are Shillingfords. Okay? And at that time, Shillingfords pretty much owned everything in Dominica. Okay? The husband was the manager of ACS, which was the biggest shop in Roseau. Probably still the biggest shop in Roseau. Except for the Pastafan has not been a shop. So they said, yeah. So they had some children about my age there, so when we came,
You fit in?
Fit in, and they treated me just like they knew me all the time, I was their relative or whatever, so... You know?
The folks back then were the most generous and kindest people?
Yeah. It's... No, when I think about how people act now, it kind of strikes me that was a very, I don't say lucky thing, but unusual thing. But anyway, maybe it was not that unusual.
You think so, boy, Mr. Murray? Or you were just fortunate? But for one person to say, but if you go by that person over there, they will take your child to stay at their home to go to school.
Yeah. And that was when paid.
It wasn't for any pay.
No.
But
So,
then you would bring down your food and your
mine was
provisions.
well, since you getting farming and things and planting dashing and so every so often you would send something down
Right.
on the bus or the truck.
On the truck. The Bedford truck, like somebody
Right.
say there.
We used to take over 5 hours of Wesley to Rosa. What's wrong?
That's wrong.
Yeah. So on that basis, they had to stay in Roseau entirely for the school term.
Right.
Then I would go up to Wesley for holidays.
Okay.
Sometimes I didn't go, but most times I went up to Wesley.
But what was that like though, Mr. Murray? At the age of 9, you know, you practically going to the home of a stranger to
Yeah.
live and to sleep and to eat and to go to school, and you know, what was that like?
Well, to some extent it was shocking because up till now Wesley has one road basically. Yeah, find myself in a place that have roads and streets. You go so, you got, you know, I come from where I come from, you go up and you come back down. That's it. You know, where you could go east, west, north, south, north, east, northwest, and try to figure out where you are and how to do that. Yeah. So I remember the first day I went to school, one of the girls who was still at school, she was going to Convent High School, took me with her to
Okay.
show me
The way.
Right, okay, so blah blah blah, go this street, go that street, blah blah, swing around, blah blah, find ourselves there. Okay? They got to wait for her to go back home because
I was trying to
but we got home. And then the next day, well, I went with her again, and then somewhere along the line, I did it by myself, and I kind of got a little lost, not completely lost,
You got
because
lost.
I thought I figured out, okay, I made a wrong turn here, so let me go back and make the other turn there, and I found it. So from then on, I found I could go by myself. Yeah, and the people I went to school with at
Tell me what the people you lived with.
the people I lived with. Oh, I was telling you, they
The
were
Shillingfords, you.
Shillingford.
Yes.
Right.
What were they like? How were you treated? How
But I was treated like I was their child. I would
really?
say, or their grandchild.
Seriously?
Yeah. Because the children were my age. were
How many
the
children were in the
children.
household?
There was Deborah, Myrna, Carl, and Bernie. So there were 4 of them, and I was 5.
And you were 5.
Right. Yeah.
Did you have to do your chores like everybody else?
Yes. But it was no big chore. But one thing I learned was the secrets of the rum trade.
The secrets of the rum trade.
Yeah. Because that was one of the good places for the people to hang out and have fun and drinks. You know, all the people who worked on the port, and the port at that time was where the ferry terminal is, you know. So they worked there, blah, 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 come up there, V8 and Mar and Zabuka.
Those guys.
Who I later found out was Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the man's name.
That's how I knew him. And the finished work, they'd come up there. And then we used to buy rum from ACS in cask. So you had to bring the cask. Well, I wasn't bringing it.
Not you.
Myself, you know, but Peter would bring it. And first thing we had to do was empty it, some of it, into a demijohn. This is a big glass kind of a bottle with a thin neck. Then you had to put in half of it with rum. Then half of it with water.
Aha! That's the secret of the rum trade.
Right. So
Mr. Murray, you're selling out things tonight.
I think everybody knew that. No,
I didn't know that.
I think even then they knew that. Yeah, so...
You'd fill the what you call it? Demi-john.
Yeah.
Half rum.
Yeah.
And so you're
half
stretching
rum.
it.
Yeah, stretch it. This is why I say the rum is a profitable business.
It is.
Yes.
It is. Dilute it a little.
Actually.
Interesting. All right. So moving along from that. So you stayed with these folks and you went through your schooling, and it was a good
But I
experience.
stayed with them up till I was in third form or so, I think. And then I moved to the St. Mary's Academy Hostel, which is on Queen Mary Street next to the cemetery there. I think that's where they have the Catholic youth thing there now. Yeah. So I went to live there. Because as more people from the, let's say, country came to Rosa for secondary schooling, every school ended up having a hostel. So we were all like people going to boarding school. So that's where I met Gordon Henderson. Actually, I met him before I was at the hostel. The Douglas brothers, Max Casey, Fitzroy, lots of people, some of whom have passed on. Yeah. So, and at the hostel, the way it was, we were kind of living again like a family, like in a sense. So like we were acting more like brothers and so on in the hostel.
What was school? What was the school? What was your school experience like?
Nice.
Nice.
Except for having to explain that I'm not a communist.
Except for that one communist experience.
Yeah.
For those who may have probably just tuned in, tell them what happened with that communist story.
Well,
just quickly.
But the communist story is that, well, remember this in the 1960s and there's all this talk about the world is going to come to an end and atom bombs are going to be falling everywhere and so on, and the communists want to take over the world, blah, blah, blah. So I used to read a lot, and I read half the books in the school's library. And one of the days I go there and I see this big book called Das Kapital, written by a fellow called Karl Marx. So I read it and I found that was an interesting analysis story he was telling there. Then I saw another one, Communist Manifesto. Then I saw a third one, written by Engels. I remember what the title was. So I read all of them, plus others, One Piece and this and that and so on. And I assume because the authorities at the school saw that I was reading these books, and I was at the hostel at the time too, so I would have them with me, and I was kind of, I suppose, quiet, or retiring, I don't know what you want to call it. So the idea that I'm there studying these, well, to them, strange books, mean that I have something up my sleeve. But I was just reading them because you want to acquire knowledge about what that is about. You know, tell me that I'm communist, but I'm communist, I have to know.
And so they called your parents?
Yeah, they called, yeah.
So did your parents have to come down from?
Yes, yeah.
How did you defend that though?
I don't think I said anything. I can't remember saying anything because that was such a shock. I mean, first of all, I read these books, blah, blah, blah. I heard about there are some people called communists, but I have no idea what they look like. But that's I suppose, frighten the authorities.
Yes.
But one of their jobs is supposed to do is to keep the world safe from communists.
Right.
So, if there's a bad seed in there that's going to upset the apple cart and make their mission fail.
Did you stop?
No, not really.
You continued reading your communist books?
Well, I read read whatever was available to read.
And your parents were not called again?
No.
No, that was it for that. That was it for
Yeah.
that. So you're saying other than that, you had a very good experience at the St. Mary's Academy.
Nice,
School was nice.
Yeah. And the subject matter wasn't difficult for me.
It was not difficult for you.
No.
All right. What types of subjects did you do at that time?
One of them which I regret they stopped teaching was Latin. Yeah, Latin, We did Latin, French. I didn't do Spanish. They started doing Spanish, biology, botany, physiology, geography, mathematics, of course, English. Did I say geography?
Yes, you did. Were you an intelligent student?
Yeah, I would say so.
You were an intelligent student. So you were an A student?
More or less.
More or less. So these subjects were just like drinking tea almost for you? Or coffee, maybe?
Well, let's say that I didn't find them difficult.
You didn't
I read it, I understood it.
And that's it?
Yeah.
And that's it?
Yeah,
you sat your exams and you did well?
I sat my exams and I got how many distincts and nothing and this and that and so on. And at that time, every school had its sixth form. So you had to do, I don't know if you had to pass, I mean, what how many grades to be allowed to do the sixth form. But anyway, that was allowed, I was in the sixth form studying to take the A-level exams. Yeah. And during the sixth form, I took economics, history, I know it's two subjects, main subjects really. French, yeah, very much French, plenty French, right, French, economics, history. And there's another thing called general paper, there's a thing that I write on current affairs or whatever.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Did you have to choose these subjects or they were just the subjects available?
No, I think I could have chosen other subjects.
Okay. That's what you leaned towards?
I chose those.
Yes, okay.
Although, also should maybe say they didn't have an extremely wide choice. They had basically what you might call a science subject, like I'm not sure they had physics, but they had chemistry, botany, biology, and so on. And these other courses like maths and language, French. I don't think they had Spanish at sixth form now. I'm not sure.
And it was 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
2 years. You did French. So was that something that you enjoyed?
Yeah, sure.
You enjoyed French?
Because you got to read all these French authors, Guy Maupassant.
I can tell you truly love to read, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so on. So, yeah, that was.
So you speak French fluently?
Yes.
Along with what other languages?
Well, Creole, I would say. Yeah.
Creole.
But I came from Wesley, nobody speak Creole.
No.
And I ended up in Roseau. I didn't know what anybody was saying. Believe me, I could understand, at least for maybe 3-4 months.
You had a challenge in understanding?
Well, a challenge is immediately I arrived there, but I soon start to pick up what the things mean. And then I started to say it because I had to sell in the shop. And everybody's coming in the shop. It's Creole is big.
Oh my goodness.
So, you know,
alors, faites, on shoot.
You have to know what the man says. The one get his shoot and everything, and he nanny or upset or whatever he was doing.
But how did you speak coming from Wesley? Did you speak like Kokoi or?
Yeah.
Did people make fun of you?
Well, I didn't speak Kokoi with them because they were not speaking Kokoi. So, yeah, but the fact that they had a different accent, even when I would speak English, they had a different accent from me, but they would be laughing at me. And part of my getting into with the rest of the people around,
yes,
so that I could fight. So like BA and his brother and so on, they lived around the corner there, Chichi. Yeah, those are my after school friends. So I fight with them, beat them down, you know.
You would fight with them?
Yes.
You are a fighter, Mr. Murray. You fight with them if they laughed at you.
Well, for whatever reason, boys always fight. Anyway, so I wasn't afraid to fight.
Yes.
Yeah. And I wasn't on the losing end.
I think Mr. Murray is going to wear out my laughing whatever tonight, but I'm fascinated and I'm enjoying this. I must admit to you, Mr. Murray. So you completed St. Mary's Academy, and where did you decide sixth form, sorry. And where did you decide you were going to go from there? What was your path from there?
Actually, after the A-level exams, I can't really remember. I got some distinctions and a B plus or whatever. Which happened to be the same grade another person got. So
You got the same grade another person got?
Yeah, so we both got the same number of A's
A's or distinction or whatever, yes.
Right. So the island scholarship was not automatically given to me, nor to her. So it was a woman.
It was a female.
Yeah. So that was Cambridge University, where these two people have the same grades. Which one you think got higher marks? And
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
So they gave it to Jennifer Elwin, who went to study medicine, right?
Dr. Elwin.
Yeah.
Yes. When my mom passed, she was the one who had to explain to me, what happened and my family.
Right,
Dr. Elwin, yes.
Right.
So they gave her the edge.
Yeah, right.
Over you.
So she got the island scholarship. But that doesn't matter because I got a Canadian scholarship. Yeah.
So that didn't matter to you? No. So you got a Canadian scholarship.
All expenses, yeah.
All expenses, housing and everything, the works.
Housing, tuition, money to come home, books, the whole cheaper, and money to spend. Yeah.
That was how long after you graduated?
Right away. So I went from 5th form to 6th form to university. Although I did pass maybe a month or two at the Ministry of Public Works.
Okay.
Yeah.
While everything was working out,
yeah.
you spent just a couple of months.
No, maybe 2 months.
Maybe 2 months.
Because like, we take the exam somewhere, when you take the exam, in June.
In June thereabout, yes. May, June.
Then you have to wait for the thing. So in the meanwhile, you just apply for jobs here and everywhere. And they called me to the Ministry of Public Works.
And what were you doing?
I think it was some kind of boats clerk or something.
Something like that.
I spent like 2 months there doing that. By the time I got a scholarship, and then university opened in October, so we all went off. And we went off, the people who went with me were Mr. Volney, who taught at Seafolk Hall. And then the
he was
there.
the principal there, I think, at one point.
Lockhart. What is Lockhart? What is his name? What was Anthony Lockhart?
Anthony Lockhart from grammar school as well, former principal.
Francis Schools Latig, Leona Shillingford, Hubert Charles, and a few more people, yeah. So we all went up to Cave, yeah.
Cave, you got the scholarship?
Cave in Barbados, yeah, it was for Cave in Barbados.
So a scholarship from Canada for Cave Hill, University of the West Indies.
Well, what happened was they were just starting up the Cave Hill campus. And the government of Canada was giving aid to the Eastern Caribbean for education.
Okay.
So they gave this sum of money to the university to give scholarships to students outside of Barbados.
And what did you go
19.
to? You left at age 19. What was it like, getting ready to leave Dominica and go on to uncharted territory?
Well, because we were all a group of us going,
it was okay.
Like you're going on a little adventure. You know? And then just like the Ross used to do here, they had some people who were scouting housing for us. So by the time we got there, they already had the housing selected. So we lived with families, most of us. So I lived with a family who were Freemasons. I found out that Freemason is not no zombie business.
They were the family you lived with were Freemasons.
He was one of the Freemasons.
He was what is it? Freemason? Freemason.
Yeah.
What is that though? What did you discover it to be?
I discovered it's a kind of club.
A club.
A kind of self-help club. And people get together and talk and debate about this and that and the other thing. And then they have these dinners on Tuesdays where they have to dress up in, jacket and tie and tuxedo.
Maybe that's what you saw on the surface.
Well, I didn't go to any of the meetings, but from what I could gather from him, it wasn't any zombie business. I had to put you in a coffin. The next time I put you in a coffin is like big men making jokes, kind of a thing.
Okay, people, so Freemason is not about putting somebody in a coffin. Alright, so we understand that.
Yeah.
So you got to Barbados, you said you went?
Yeah,
Barbados, and what studies did you pursue at KVO?
Actually, I started off studying, signed up for 3 subjects. French,
Again?
I was very good at it. History and economics. After 1 week, somebody came and said, if you guys who want to specialize in economics, I would advise you to take a course in statistics that we were just starting. So I said, oh shit, I want to go in economics.
Makes
so
sense.
which one do I drop? I said, okay, I know I'll drop the French because I figure I just think I can speak. So I dropped the French.
Okay.
So I was enrolled for French for a week, and then after you went to a class.
Okay. Because you started statistics.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the class hadn't actually started yet.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about the experience there.
Well, I was shocked to find out that there was racism in Barbados.
Aha.
Yes, because
A Caribbean island.
Yes, because I was on the cricket team and the football team too, for the university. And the way it's organized is like each team has its ground. So there's a league, and then you play one team on your grounds, and then you play the other team on their grounds. And to my great surprise, when we went to play against a team on their grounds, every single person on the team was white. And they were all Bajans. There wasn't like foreigners
Right.
who came there and they were, no, they were all foreigners. They were all Bajans.
They were born in Barbados?
Yeah, been there a long time.
But their family might have come from Europe or the United States.
UK.
Or UK, yes.
But
Or mostly from
From
UK.
Scotland, actually.
I see.
Yeah. I also found out that, well, the other funny thing, maybe the wealthiest people or white people, they owned the land, and black people owned very little land, except for where they would put a house or whatever. And they were also the poorest people. Have you ever heard the expression, the red legs? Well, they're a group of people who are poor, and they're white, and then they're the poorest people in Barbados.
So where did the racism element that you spoke of, how does that come into play?
Well, in social dealings, the people who own the clubs, in other words, they wouldn't take a black guy to be on the Wanderers, cricket team. He just wouldn't go. They wouldn't ask him, and he wouldn't. And if he went, that would be such a strange thing. So the thing was organized in such a way that you had certain teams that were kind of known, and clubhouses and so on. Like there was a thing called Carlton Club that was for wrong people.
I see.
Yeah. And then you had the Yacht Club, which was white people. So everybody kind of knew his place.
So there was segregation.
Well, it kind of had, social segregation.
Social segregation.
Not so much physical housing segregation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was some of that too, but.
So besides that experience, what else?
And it was shocking to me. Yeah.
That was one of the most shocking things to you.
Yeah.
I just saw one of my viewers post that she in fact experienced racism in Barbados. So it's quite interesting to hear you say that. That was probably the last thing I would expect to hear you talk about in terms of your your experience in Barbados.
Yeah.
But the overall school experience and living in Barbados generally, what was that like?
It was kind of cool because we were at the university, and actually it's we who introduced carnival and all that, what they call it there?
What's that?
The kind of carnival they have in August there.
Okay, yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The crop over.
Yeah, because what happened, well, you go to university mostly to party, drink rum and so on, and that's what you do. Like the students, you can have British style university. So there were 2 recreational areas. One for the lecturers and teachers and administrators called the senior common room, and the other one was the students' union. Okay, the students' union the students ran the whole thing. You had a bar, we had to go buy drinks, put in the bar, organize dances and all of that. So we had, all the social activities going on by ourselves. And then the next year, after the cruise, the second year was there, they introduced law at Caville, which meant that people from Trinidad came to the University of Barbados to study law. So when carnival time comes around, we say, wow, for no carnival in Barbados, what the hell of a thing? So we organized carnival on the campus. So we'd have Queen show, one Calypso show, and dance.
So that started around your time?
Yeah. A big dance on the Saturday night and so on and so forth. And then on the Sunday, you'd have a jump up around the campus because you can't go in the street because, with a band playing and drum or whatever. Yeah. So it was from that, we might say seed, that the idea developed in people like a guy called Ilombi Motley, who is related to
Mayor Motley.
He was always a kind of Barbadian person of radical. So they pushed the idea that we can have this thing and blah blah blah, and then they came up with the idea, okay, well, let's just take this tradition they had the end of the cane cutting season and make it into a celebration. Because they probably the celebrations on the plantation and so, and make it into a carnival.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's because they saw, they had actually seen like a carnival in Barbados up at the university. And he was always at the university, Ilombi Motley. Yeah, he was there.
Well, Mr. Murray, it's good to know that you were part of that.
Yeah, sure.
You're part of that that experience in Barbados that has now become, something very huge.
Yeah,
well, not huge this year because of
Well,
COVID,
it's not.
but all the same. So so there you go. You had your experience in Barbados, and you graduated with a degree in what?
Economics and history.
Economics and history.
Yeah.
All right. What were you going to
So I
do?
know a lot of history, more economics.
What were you going to do with that degree?
Actually, I hope to work as an economist.
You were hoping to work as an
Yeah.
economist.
But before I got to work as an economist, I get a call. Actually, right when I was still in school, that you starting a master's program in agricultural economics at St. Augustine. Would I want to sign up for that? I said, sure. So I signed up, and then I went the October, same year, to do the master's degree. Yeah.
So you finished your bachelor's,
Yeah.
and then you went across to do your
A couple of
master's.
weeks, couple of months later, yeah.
One
In
time.
Trinidad, yeah.
2 years, 3 years.
It took me about 3 years.
So about 2 years.
Yeah.
And you,
Partly because I finished the thing long time, but because the way the thing was organized was I was given a thing called a teaching assistantship, which meant I taught students in the Faculty of Agriculture what to take some economics courses.
while you were doing your master's degree.
Right. So they were paying me for that. But they were paying me enough money to pay the tuition and pay my housing and lodging and buy beer and whatever else.
So you were good. You were in a good place.
Yeah.
You were in a good place.
Right. So even though I'd finished my thesis and handed it in, but I had to write a thesis. That time all MSc thing was research. So I had to do a thesis. And my thesis was on the diversification of agriculture in a small economy, the case of Dominica.
And
So I wrote that.
so you moved from history and economics with your BSc.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Oh, it was a BA. Okay. And then you went to do agriculture.
MSc, right.
In agriculture?
With the economics of agriculture.
Oh, the
It was
economics
kind
of agriculture.
I wasn't studying agronomy. I wasn't learning how to plant plants and so on. But some of that I knew from what my father did. So I knew some basic agronomy things. Yeah.
So what does the economics of agriculture entail?
Okay. it entails things like what? And development. There's and development. It entails things like this. You have to study. I remember we studied these things. What they call the nutrient food tables. Huh? A long list of things people eat and what nutrients are in them. Okay? Then you have to construct and the prices, importantly. You have to construct a balanced meal for a family that has a given income to spend on food. That you have to learn some nutrition. Yes?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Right. So they found out in fact, the human body doesn't need food.
It does not?
No, it needs nutrients. And you find nutrients in different foods, in different quantities and so on.
Explain further, Mr. Murray.
So, well, you can say that the human body needs what they call macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients are fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. So when people say you shouldn't eat fat, that is nonsense. But you need to eat fat.
Okay.
So these are the macronutrients. Then you have micronutrients, which will give you minerals and vitamins. Okay, and then different plants and different quantities and so on and different prices. So when you want to get your protein, and you should have X amount of protein per day. If you want to get X amount of protein per day, there are different ways you can get it. Everybody knows the obvious thing. We talk about protein is some kind of meat or fish. Okay?
Or beans.
Right. Now we also have beans and
right.
Blah, blah, blah,
right.
blah. So you have to figure out how you're going to get your quantum of protein with $10. If beef and chicken selling for $6 and $8 a pound, well, yeah.
I'm with you.
But beans or lentils especially are selling for 50 cents a pound.
You go for the 50 cents protein. No?
Yeah, you might have to.
You might have to based on your budget.
Right. So that's
the economics of agriculture.
That's part of it. That's part of it. But the other part of it obviously is the whole business of how does agriculture fit in a country's economy and its prospects for growth and development.
I see. Yes. All right. So that's why.
John Barbados a very controversial thing. Just like I kind of never tell people in Dominica I'm an agricultural economist. But next thing I tell them is that agriculture is the worst thing Dominica can do.
Is it?
Yes.
Why? Can you just give me a couple of reasons why you say that, or at least one?
Because if I just say a thing.
Yes, you say I'll accept a thing. Yes.
You can pretty much decide and know how developed the country is by the quantum of its population that is engaged in agriculture.
Okay.
And when you have Dominica at the time, I think especially there, had practically everybody was involved in agriculture. The reason so many people had to be engaged in agriculture is for a simple reason. Food is the first thing a person needs before a house or anything else. Okay? So, given your resources and your capacities, you must do food first. Now, if you don't produce enough food for yourself and 3 or 4 or 5 other people, those other people must go and plant food too. Which means you just have a society or an economy of only people farming who doing little bits of farming and who just above starvation level.
Oh boy.
And some might be higher than that, but so it is.
This right there, Mr. Murray, is a whole different program. I am suspecting. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. We're going to take a break, give you an opportunity to sip some water, and we're coming right back. This is the In the Spotlight radio show. 9:10 is the time in our studios. And I must admit, I'm truly enjoying this conversation with Mr. Mark Murray here this evening in the studios. I'm actually surprised because a part of me thought that Mr. Murray probably didn't have a funny bone in his body, but I'm I'm learning differently here for sure. Breaking news, and we're coming right back. This is the In the Spotlight Radio Show. We do it Monday nights right here on Q95FM Radio. We thank you for joining us tonight. We're coming right back.
In the Spotlight on Q95.
We're still live on Facebook, yes, sir.
In the Spotlight, featuring people from all walks of Dominican life, spotlighting their triumphs and tragedies, dreams, hopes, aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and personal side of all people in politics, religion, sports, business, music, culture, the media, and more. Getting to know our farmers, our public servants, youth, and the ordinary Dominican. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the Spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95FM Radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
One-on-one with interesting personalities, educational and informative topics and issues, intriguing and entertaining. A must listen to. In the Spotlight, Monday nights from 8 p.m. on Q95.
Minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. Good evening to you again, wherever you are. Just again reminding you to become a member of our In the Spotlight fans group on Facebook. It is In the Spotlight's ITS radio show fans. So just type this in and you just request membership and join, and we will have you, as I said, tomorrow morning. You will see who the next guest is, and that's how I've started doing it. So people can look forward to being, just being surprised, I guess, in some cases, as to who the next guest is on the program. I always try to hide it away from them, give them a reason to come to the page and to look. So we're continuing our conversation here with Mark Marie, learning so much from this distinguished gentleman here in the studios. One of the things I'm learning for sure is that this man is an intelligent man, and he seemed to be quite academically inclined, kind of breezed his way through high school. The same appears to have been at university as well. He's an economist. We know that he's an economist. Very often we see you on GIS, being one of the moderators and discussing the budget and all of that good stuff. So let us continue, Mr. Murray. So you get this your master's degree in
agricultural economics.
Yes.
I don't know any certificate here.
You don't know where it is.
Oh.
Maybe
I know it's supposed to be.
You know where it's supposed to be.
long time.
You need to find it.
And the funny thing, people come to our home, they're likely to think we are the dumbest people in Dominica.
Because none of your certificates are on.
No certificate.
Nothing on display.
No, neither mine, no failures.
No failures. And this is the first time we mentioned no failure, but we're coming to her,
right,
don't you worry. So you did this and you tutored for a bit you lectured for a bit at the university. And
I
then
didn't lecture, I did tutorials.
Tutored. So I did use the right word.
Subsequently,
Assistant.
I went back to KVL and teach and lectured, right.
You did?
Yes. For 2 years, 77 to 79.
So you finished in Trinidad. Mm-hmm. And then do you come back home?
Came to Dominica.
For how long?
For about 2 years. And during which time I worked for the same thing, everybody mixing up things there. Mrs. Jean Finnegan grabbed me and tell me, oh, they're just starting up this community high school and need somebody to teach agriculture. You're in agriculture comes? Yeah, you know, yeah. So she put me in to teach agriculture. So, which I did. And then they helped to formalize the school. Because the community high school, when it started, it was at the grammar school in the afternoons. Okay? And now everybody knows it to be up on the way to Trafalgar with its own building and running the same hours as the school.
What was the concept behind that community? Explain to us, sir.
There were 4 secondary schools in Dominica to start with, all based in Roseville. Okay, so there's all this thing, everybody had to come to Roseville. But there were many more children than the first forms in all the secondary schools in Dominica could accommodate. Therefore, they had this common entrance thing, which was basically to select those who were assumingly smarter at the time to go to school. So the amount of people they took to go to secondary school was not a function of really how smart you were, but really how much places they had in secondary schools. So, some point in time, some parents, I suppose, Jean Finnegan was a bit in social work and so on, she had worked in Africa and so on. So the idea that, well, our children not dance, so why can't they go to secondary school? So government decided, but why don't we make a secondary school? And somebody comes to say, well, you know, but all the schools empty after 1 o'clock.
Yes.
You could run another school after 1, so they started it. I wasn't there when it started, but I came soon after it started. So I was the teacher teaching agricultural economics, and I taught French, was it? Yeah. And the school had kind of, as part of its vocation, to teach agriculture, which is why up till now, if you go up there, you'll see these greenhouse things there, and sometimes you see the children outside.
Yes.
So that was really
always part of the original
concept that agriculture should be part of what is taught there. Right. So I taught there for a year and a half or something like that, and then I went to work at the Ministry of Planning and Development, economist there. I didn't make a year when I got a call, actually interesting, and I can never apply for a job in my life so far. I got a call from Barbados say, well, we need a lecturer, are you willing to come? I say, yeah, sure. So I went.
You went to Barbados?
Yeah, I went to Barbados. Meanwhile, I got married as well.
Yes, I want to ask along the way, where did Ophelia come in? But go on with the thing. So we'll come to that in a while.
Yeah, so that's how I got back to Barbados to teach. Now I'm the lecturer in planning class for everybody, and then doing tutorials with other classes.
Did you enjoy teaching? You did some teaching?
Kind of, except that I realized by 2 years I did the same thing, because to me, I did that already, but the student who come in now is brand new to him.
Yes,
and I have to pretend as if I'm excited about it.
You did like that very much.
I'm saying, I said the same thing to some people a couple of months ago.
Like deja vu, like Groundhog Day, right?
So
teaching wasn't for you then, Mr. Murray.
No, actually, I like teaching, but to teach the same thing, you know, like over and over again, like, especially like the same thing like secondary school. If you're teaching geography in the 3rd form, the same thing you're going to be doing every year. If they would shift you to teach geography in the 5th form next year, then you're going to do something different, then they switch you back, so, you know, to keep you. Okay. But that's how it's done.
That's how it's done.
Yeah.
Okay, so so along the way, Mr. Murray, our beloved Ophelia Murray, you have been fortunate in having her as your wife.
Yes, sure.
Let us hear how, at what point in this journey that you met this beautiful, talented lady.
In sixth
In
form.
6th form you met her?
Because as St. Mary's Academy and Convent High School were Catholic schools, and there was a little bit of a problem of sufficient teachers to teach A-levels. So they did a kind of, cooperation. They say, okay, we will do the mathematics at SMA, and you will do the French at Convent High School.
So everybody goes to Convent for French.
Right.
And everybody comes to SMA for math. Right.
So I went to Convent for French. She was doing French as well. So that's where I met her for the first time.
For the first time.
Right. And then when I came back from university.
So wait, you're going too fast. So when you met her there for the first time, was it just friends?
Yeah.
You were just a friend to her. Did you see her across the classroom and say, me a belle Tiffy, yeah? No, c'est pas comme ça?
Non, pas comme ça.
Dis-nous quoi, nous teasing more. Give us some more.
Nous étions amis. Et puis moi, je suis parti faisais études en Barbados.
C'est...
Et après, moi, Trinidad. Tout de suite. Et puis, il peut tenir un bail, il a fait échange culturel. Et puis, il est venu Trinidad. Et puis, on groupe.
Et Ophelia?
Oui.
Okay, moi suspect nous ka perdre tes moun là, so let us switch back to English.
Pity, but
yes, so she had to come to Trinidad for something. That's where I caught her. Don't worry, you were losing me a little too, so that's why we can switch back to English.
For cultural thing,
yes.
At the university.
Yes.
They had sports and culture thing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So that I met her there again, because I was at Trinidad in that time. So when I came back from Trinidad, I think she had finished her studies at K-Ville.
She was at K-Ville as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was in Trinidad. And then, so I met her again. And
see, Mr. Murray, I met her again and we spoke.
and then one thing leads to another thing, which leads to the church.
Mr. Murray, did you take her out on a date?
Yes. All of that happened,
Mr. Murray is holding back on us a bit.
Yeah,
You holding back on us a bit?
No,
you're not holding back on us a bit. So you met previously, and then you met again in Trinidad, and then you came back to Dominica. But along the way, Mr. Murray, how did you come to the decision that Tiffy Salah, c'est Tiffy là pour moi?
C'est ma décision, ça. C'est la barrière qui a mené au Caille, là.
La barrière qui ça?
C'est le feeling qui a mené, c'est là pour aller.
Oh, c'est le feeling qui a mené, c'est là pour aller. So c'est ça qui a fait. Oh my goodness. And of course, they're dying on Facebook there on the two of us, Mr. Murray. So you decided that, you proposed to her, I presume, and you asked her to marry you. And when did you all get married? At what point?
1977.
1977.
27th March.
27th March 1977, you got married. So
yes.
That would be close to 40 years. 37?
Yeah, I think so, more than 40 years.
Yeah, thereabout. Just, 42, thereabout?
Yeah,
something like that. Somebody do the math for us. We're going to spend a little time talking about Ophelia a bit, because Ophelia would turn out to be, one of the brightest stars in Dominica where music and singing is concerned. Where did it begin from your perspective? She's been here, so she shared with us. Yeah. From your perspective, when did it begin?
Well, I didn't really know Ophelia could sing.
No?
No, when I came back from university, and there was a show being put on, and she was rehearsing with the Swinging Stars. That's what they call the old grotto, which is where the home for the ages is now. It was on the other side, on Queen Mary Street, where they had a sports club, Union Club. Yeah, they were using the building. I went there to meet her, to wait for her. I heard her sing, and I was so like, oh my God, this person can sing. Because I was always kind of involved in music, listening to records, singing, blah, 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 that. So I said, the first time I heard that person sing sing like that with a voice like that.
But weren't you already dating or going out or
Yeah, but
this
business about singing and Dawn wasn't in it because she wasn't like singing there, singing there, singing there. She wasn't singing. So somebody on there asked her, but you would like to make a record?
You asked her if she would like to make a record.
Yeah, she said yes because she said, well, just talking to this fella, Chris Serafin, who said this, who said that, but nothing really happened. I said, okay, I have a friend who in that business there, I will write him a letter. Which is that kind of
Where was your friend?
In France.
In France, okay.
Gordon. So it's a kind of a strange thing, but me and Gordon kept in touch by letter in those days. He didn't have fax, he didn't have email and so on and telephone. Few people had telephone. But we kept together in touch by letter, so I write him a letter and say, blah blah blah, I find this girl that's singing there good. I mean, what you can do to organize for to make a record. To them, okay, make a demo and send it to him. So I organized some musicians and we went down to Radio Jumbo, which was located at the Cicero Hotel. Cicero Hotel was, and we did the recording with a guy called Gilles. I met him again after I was in France. And we did a recording on a quarter-inch tape, and I sent it to Gordon.
Quarter-inch tape.
Right. I sent it to Gordon. I think there's 3 songs with it. Gordon said, okay, yeah, I'll make the record. But that took a little while. Eventually got done in January 1978, and I wrote a song on it. My first recorded song called Red Light Lady. You know what the topic is about?
Red Light Lady? Yes, I do.
Okay, right. So,
of course.
So,
I'm sure they do too.
yeah, probably.
Red Light Lady.
Yeah. So, for some reason, some people in Europe kind of find it an interesting song because it's been made into a part of a compilation somebody was doing. Of all the songs over here, as he chose that one. And just before the COVID thing there, Gordon was negotiating with somebody wanted to put that song on a vinyl 45 to put it on sale. If you're in the music business and you want to show how engaged you are, you buy vinyl records.
Engaged?
Yes, or sophisticated you are, you buy vinyl records. It's a good market.
Okay.
Vinyl records. Yeah.
And that's how it all started.
Yeah.
From your perspective.
Yeah. So we went to France. There's a bit of a history there. We went to France through Luxembourg.
Luxembourg.
Oh, Luxembourg.
The French is coming through.
And we took the train from Luxembourg, entered France down to the Gare de l'Est and met Gordon in Paris. Yeah. In January in the winter, and then we recorded the record the day before we left.
and so the birth of Ophelia's
then
music.
the record was put on sale just about June, July there, and it just burst barrel.
Just blew up.
Yes.
It just blew up.
Yeah. It never stopped.
It never stopped.
Yeah.
How did you as
We did concerts and blah 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 around France, in Cayenne, in Martinique, all over the place.
So,
we even played in Jamaica. I think people say Dominican artists never played in Jamaica. Ophelia played in Jamaica.
She did.
For the Prime Minister's ball, for the independence business there. Sometime 2001 or so, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you've worked with Ophelia over the years as her husband and her manager.
Yeah.
How did that work out, Mark?
Well, yeah, it worked out okay. Because I get into it, was not explained to me a little bit. You know, if you look on a vinyl record, even on some CDs, there's a statement saying unauthorized reproduction, broadcasting, public performance, and so on prohibited. But I used to read, but I used to read everything. I used to read that and I'm wondering, but what the hell does that mean? Because everybody has the record, they play it. I don't see anybody telling anybody anything. But why would they write that? I should be the writer there just to decorate the record. Because we used to decorate, they would decorate it sometimes with this, sometimes with that. So I asked Gordon the question about that one time when he was here, and we were trying to post one. They explained to me, well, that there is this what about Saxon and blah, and then this thing that they write on the record there is that radio station, and these people have to ask permission to play record and so. I say, oh, okay, is that so? And then he had a book called This Business of Music. So I just borrowed it and I read it off in one night.
Of course you did.
Said, okay, that's how the music business makes money, is copyright. So therefore I set out to find out what copyright is. I was reading and talking to people who know more than me.
And that's how you got into the whole copyright business, which you're very well known for in Dominica and have probably, I wouldn't say you've made some people a bit uncomfortable with this whole copyright things. Somebody wants me to ask you something. Ask him why she chose to sing in Creole or French instead of English. You see, we started talking about Ophelia, but then we ended up jumping to copyright because I was asking you, how was that for you as her husband and her manager along the years, managing her music, but still, having to be, her husband at the same time. We've seen stories where this does not work, when you have that kind of relationship existing where there's a husband who also a wife who is the manager, a lot of things probably don't go right, but it seemed to have worked for you and Ophelia.
Good question. Okay, so let me answer the first question about the business. When I read into the thing and so on, I realize that what people think about music in America is actually incorrect. That it's just take the copyright thing there. In France or in Guadeloupe, if you play a concert, the Copyright Society is going to collect 8.25% of the gate receipts. Yeah. In the United States, they don't collect 1%. They collect 0.8%. Which means that unless it's a concert making millions of dollars, ain't nobody going to bother to go and try to collect that because they'll be spending more money than to get it now. And the United States as well is not a market. It's a lot of different music markets. Because like the people who buy country and western record, they don't buy hip hop records and so on, and vice versa. It's just different set of things. So it's very few people who are able to like sell to different groups, And in France, there's a question I saw somebody say, about France. France is a culture and America is an economy. Let me just give you an example. Once I saw a poll in L'Express or Le Point, one of them, sort of thing was similar to Time magazine. They ask everybody, or certain people, now that you've lived your life more or less how you lived it, if you had to start all over again and you had only choices to make, which choices of profession and so on would you make? And most of the choices that people make at the top with some kind of artistic something or the other. Things like doctor and so on were in the middle. So
interesting.
Yeah, so in France there's a kind of great appreciation for artistic undertakings of all sorts. And the government itself goes out to as much as it can to protect people engaged in these activities. For example, a performer in a band or whatever is considered an employee and he's entitled to holiday and social security, and on and on and on, just like everybody else, which doesn't happen anywhere else in the world that I know. Everybody is considered an independent contractor rather than an employee. So in France, a person who plays like records in a studio can have 10 employers the same day. Because it was why they all have to sign this form, blah, blah, who pay the money, and so on. So the thing is, a niche can be quite profitable and big. Yeah? Just to give you a thing about France again, there are things I know. The Caribbean is the place that is most dependent on tourism. But France is the place that gets the most tourists in the world. Yeah? And the people who go to France as tourists not going there
They go for the food and for the...
Right, they go for the culture.
The culture.
Mona Lisa,
Yes.
blah, and that sort of thing.
So that just to get us back into context. So is that leading to why you all decided to go that route in terms of the Creole? Yeah.
Because most people here who think they're going to sing ballads and go and dethrone Rihanna, they're going to do nix. They must know how Rihanna came to be with. It's a complete accident, and you cannot plan an accident. You just happen to have had the good sense, or whoever was working with to have seen the accident as an opportunity and grabbed onto it. But people can't reproduce that.
So Ophelia, you decided that was the route that you were going to go, targeting the French market, the French culture, with the French music. And
not French music, it's actually
Dominican music done in Creole.
Yeah.
And so you how did that work out?
It was pretty good, yeah.
Ophelia turned out to be one of the biggest artists in Martinique.
We play all over the Caribbean. We play in Jamaica, we play many times in Trinidad. You made a record sometime with what is it? David Rod. Yeah. So and there's an interesting thing in music and art, all those things in general. People can spot when you are doing your thing good. Has to distinct.
I get you.
When you're doing
their
thing
badly. Yes.
You know, like after the fall of the Berlin Wall and so on, and the Bolshoi Bali had problems because the state collapsed, blah blah blah. They have nobody paying them. They made these stores around the world. They didn't bring the entire Bali. They kind of broke it up, and they came to Dominica. The Bolshoi Bali came to Dominica at the Arawak House of Courts, and I went to see them. I have no understanding about JT and pirouette, but I could see what the people were doing. You know, you can see that they're doing what they're doing well. You understand what I mean? And you appreciate them for doing their thing well. You know, so I think.
And so Ophelia is very much still relevant. You continue to manage her career. What has she been up to lately?
Well, the COVID, just before the
because somebody like Ophelia will never not be relevant, by the way.
Right. Well, just before the COVID thing, they were been in discussion with a colleague in France, Guadeloupe, about doing some records with Gordon and so on, specifically targeting the African market, where she's known already, and our music from here is pretty well known, especially oddly enough in Angola. Everywhere they speak Portuguese actually. Dominican music kind of popular. Then COVID comes and throws a monkey wrench in all of that. But we've still continued the recordings, and we have a number of recordings now that we're about to make public on DSPs, which is like Spotify,
right,
Tidal, and so on and so forth. And even the one associated with their company, their Deezer. Yeah, it's on Deezer.
Ah, okay, all right. And so, how is she, by the way?
Well, she was well when I left.
She was well
She
when you
still
left.
is.
So let us just say good evening to the lovely Ophelia Marie, and Ophelia knows that we love her dearly, and we hope that she continues to do well with her music. Once she has life and she has the ability, keep on singing. Our Lady of Song, you need to keep on singing. How is the eye? Is the eye coming along? Is she?
Well, it is as it is.
It is as it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it isn't degenerating or anything.
Okay, all right, good stuff. Quick break, Mr. Murray. We're gonna come back in just a while. Again, we're continuing to enjoy this discussion here in the studios. You should see us a while ago though. We're sitting there like, this is just a nice conversation going on. 9:41 is the time in our studios. We have to wrap up at 10 o'clock. So we need to touch on some of the other things, Mr. Murray, that you are involved in. I know probably people expected us to talk quite a bit about copyright, but we'll just touch on it again and continue from there.
And the population collapse.
And the population collapse. The population collapse. What does that mean?
Because population has collapsed.
Oh, we come into that. Keep it locked. We're coming right back.
In the Spotlight on Q95FM radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight, featuring people from all walks of Dominican life, spotlighting their triumphs and tragedies, dreams, hopes, aspirations, untold stories, touching the human and personal side of our people in politics, religion, sports, business, music, culture, the media, and more. Getting to know our farmers, our public servants, youth, and the ordinary Dominican. Listen to their stories. No limitations, no restrictions, no holds barred. In the Spotlight will also spotlight interesting topics, issues, and relevant situations. Don't miss In the Spotlight on Q95FM radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. In the Spotlight.
9:42 is the time in our studios as we continue here. The time is creeping up on us. I just want to ask you, Mr. Murray, what's the biggest misconception that you think we have where copyright is concerned, and the fact that we do not always seem to understand where you're coming from?
Well, strange to say, I think the biggest misconception that people have is that I invented it. Yeah, some people think I invented it. But the biggest, but besides that, it's complicated. It's not complicated. It's just think of it as somebody's property. Like, for example, like a lot of people are putting on Facebook when they have some music or something in something, they're saying, I do not own rights to this music, it's all for entertainment purposes.
Does that save them?
That doesn't make any sense. Well, but you're just saying, you stole my thing and you knew it wasn't yours. So what's saying? It's like stealing my car and put a sign and say, this car is not mine, I'm just taking a right to postcode in it. You steal my car, I steal my car.
So it's pointless even putting it there.
Nonsensical.
Oh my goodness.
And
I hope you guys are listening.
Matter of fact, even harmful, because I might not know how my music got into your thing. But now you're telling me you should have put it in deliberately. You're telling me it's for entertainment. But that's what I'm making music for, not for entertainment.
So basically, help me understand what it is that you do briefly in terms of copyright and why you have to do it without people getting annoyed that I'm feeling like Mr. Murray is just being troublesome. You know, I've probably said it once or twice when Mr. Murray is being very troublesome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the thing. If you have something for free, and here comes somebody and says, oh, hold on there, this thing isn't free, you have to pay. Well, the person isn't going to jump for joy when you tell him that. And then you'll tell him, okay, well, check your lawyer. Problem is, very, very few lawyers in the whole Caribbean know anything about that. So normally person just go to his lawyer, and the lawyer will tell him, no man, that's nonsense. Matter of fact, the lawyer even laugh harder than you. That happened to me actually with, Cleveland Wireless in St. Lucia. I was discussing with the manager, blah, blah, blah. And he says, oh, you know something, maybe you should talk with my lawyers. I say, well, set up a meeting, I'll go talk with him. So I went and I spoke with the lawyer, and the lawyer leans back in his chair and he bends out and laughs at that. Unfortunately, we had to sue them, and then he didn't laugh so much because he then found out he had to go do some research and found out that they were correct, you know. But it's, and some people tell me some strange things like, we are not ready for that yet. Which means to say, we can only plant bananas and dash in. So that's too sophisticated for us. We're not too sophisticated for us.
Do the artists get paid?
Sure.
They get paid.
Sure.
They get paid.
And they will get paid more if the people who use the music were to come to us and get and pay us. You know? Because like in Scandinavia, in France and so on, pretty much everybody in society knows about copyright and what it means and so on. And there's an interesting thing which people, not little people, big people like CDB and this kind of organizations that give people consultancies do, for which the consultant should sue them. You write a paper for the organization and you put your name on it. The organization takes your name off and puts their name on it. Well, that's a great, I don't say it's a crime, but it's a great infringement for which they would have to pay you serious money.
Michael Henderson is confirming here that she gets paid both from SASEM and from ECHO. Yeah. So I guess that's confirmation of what you do. How much do people pay attention or comply to your requests? So for example, you will send me my email or my quotation very early ahead of Pearl in the Park. I'll get it. And you know, we honor it and we pay, and you know, sometimes you will tell us about music and that kind of thing, and we are one of the companies I know who comply when you approach us. What is the feedback like from other companies or other individuals generally where this is concerned?
Well, I think the fact that there have been some cases that have gone to court and have gone against the users have impelled some people to take, might say, preemptive action. So, because now more than one person or institution has called me to say, oh, I'm going to put in music in my place there, what will it cost? Yeah, and then we're going to pay.
So it's working out.
So it's getting better in Dominica.
It's getting better in Dominica.
I think Dominica is better than most of the islands in the Caribbean. But for one reason, we file many more lawsuits than they do.
All right. Mr. Marie, we've spoken about some of your experiences. I think we ended at you coming back to Dominica. Was it at the community college that we ended? Community high school. That's where we ended. Tell us about some of the other things you've been associated with, and some of the contributions you have made, because our time is coming.
Well, I think maybe the biggest contribution I'd like to think that I have made to Dominica, which everybody ignores, is the fact that I happened to notice that the Dominica population was heading towards collapse and crash. That was since 2007, 2008. And in 2017, the population did collapse and crash.
Is it?
Yes. And then the future for the Dominican economy is bleak. Let me just explain to you quickly. If you just pay attention a little bit, you'll notice that one of the best businesses to be in Dominica now is burying people.
I see a lot of lives via MOUs and so on, I must admit.
Yeah, so there are a lot of funerals. You hardly know anybody who has a baby.
Well, I know one person now. I haven't had one, so I guess I've contributed to the collapse, mister. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh my.
So, yeah, because in
Oh goodness.
2017, the estimated number of deaths was 1,066, of which 31 were killed by the hurricane.
2017.
No, yeah, 1,066.
1,000.
That's what they estimated to be.
Projection.
Of which 31, no. That was in the past tense.
Yes, yes.
Of which...
No, I said that was the projection for that year.
No, that was the figure for that year.
Okay.
Okay, of which 31
was
were killed by the hurricane.
Oh, you're saying 1,066 people died in 2017? Okay.
647 were born.
How? 647 were born.
Yeah. Well, you figure it out.
Yes.
Dominica is dying.
And
the economy follows. Yeah?
Do you have any figures for 20?
No, I don't have any figures
for 18 or 19?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But you're suspecting it's along the same lines?
Yeah.
So you're saying Dominica is dying?
Yeah, sure. And the economy will follow. It's following.
The economy will follow?
Yeah, will do.
Oh my goodness. So what do we do about that? Do I have to start having babies?
Well, no. It's
too late?
It's too late. Well, actually I study biology.
Wait. Mr. Roy, you're not saying it's too late for me. You're saying it's too late generally.
Yeah.
Okay.
For Dominica. Because in the population, the limiting factor for population growth really is the number of women of childbearing age, the number of children they make. Now the number of women of childbearing age has shrunk because the population has aged. Okay? So the few women of childbearing age who are with us cannot make sufficient children to make up for the deficit. Follow?
Are you sure?
Absolutely sure. It's just arithmetic. It's not algebra or calculus.
So wait, so Mr. Murray, what's going to happen in the next 10 years? What do you predict?
Here's what. You work at a telecommunications company.
Correct.
Telecommunications company depends on phone calls for revenue. That is, let's say with phone calls, as well as internet. Well, let's take internet. Internet is needed at each household. If the number of households are decreasing, the demand for internet service follows. Yeah? So there will be less people coming to say, connect me up with a internet thing. The number of people who will need a phone service, by the way, it doesn't run another figure by you, is that in 2011, the population was estimated to be 71,239 people. In 2017, it was estimated to be 67,400. Yes?
I see where you're going.
Therefore, business for your company is not on a growth trajectory. It cannot be, because it depends on the number of people there. And in two ways: the number of people who have a phone, the number of people you have to call. If all most people my age have died already. If they were the people I were going to call, if I used to make 10 calls to those friends of mine there, and 3 of them are no longer here, but only 7 people I have to make calls to. I will make less calls, less revenue.
This is very worrying.
Well, of course, but I don't know why people don't take that seriously. Everybody thinks it's some kind of joke. I'm telling them, I say that Dominica is dying, quite literally. That's true. So we have to do something, and the only thing that is doable, to save the situation is to have a massive immigration program. Yes? Otherwise, it will just go...
So bring in people.
Huh? Yeah. to bring people to in the Dominica to work. Because we
And
have
to
no
make
people to work.
children.
Yeah.
And to
Hopefully they're young
procreate.
enough to make children and so on and so forth.
Somebody saying Dominicans in the diaspora need to come back home. Maybe
Well,
that's
well, here's the problem with Dominicans in diaspora. When you've left Dominica, you've gone abroad, you've settled into the life over there. You bought a house, you have a car, you have a mortgage, you have a this and that, your job which you like or don't like, as the case might be. You generally going to come home when you retire. The problem is that you've retired, you come home to relax.
not to make
You're
children.
not going to, well,
You're not even at the age of that anymore.
Right. You're not going to start a business. You follow what I mean? So when they come back, they do come back with their pension. The pension, whatever it follows them, but that's what they contribute. It's the inflow of the pension.
But where are these people going to come from?
Because I'm telling you, the only way they can come to can have the population stabilize and then rise is from immigrants.
But where are they going to come from? Where are we going to get them from? Are we going to continue to bring in?
Well, they're all. That's why you see sometimes we talk about accidents happening. When there was this crisis in Syria, with people dying on the Mediterranean and so on and so forth, Canada is in a position similar to ours. The Canadian people do not make enough children to cause their population to grow. The Canadian government just say, okay, we're taking Syrians, come. And they took hundreds or thousands of Syrians as refugees. Germany had a similar situation. They got all these Syrians to come and so on and send them out. And the government knew at the time they were taking the Syrians that there was some political risk associated with that. But the Chancellor, well, probably thought like a statesperson and said, well, I'll take the political risk, but I know this is good for Germany.
Germany, Canada, Dominica. Is Dominica attractive enough?
Wherever is attractive, you have to make it attractive. Because part of the problem is, like, we are in Dominica here, and everything we see is a problem. But when a person comes from abroad, the same thing you see as a problem, he says, what an opportunity. That's just like when you go abroad or wherever, the people who are there, they say, but why don't I open up, start a taxi business to carry people to nightclubs in the middle of the night? Because they want to drink, and then when they get out of the thing, they can get in their car, the police will stop them. So here am I providing a service. You can go party all night long. Just give me a call when you want to come home. I could drive you, but I will be sober.
Who needs to hear what you're saying, Mr. Murray, and take action? Who needs to take action from what you're saying? Who needs to take it seriously first, and who needs to take action, and what sort of action is to be taken, and by when?
The government, or the people who run in the country generally, including the civil servants and the economists and whoever work for the government, and the general population.
And get people into the country.
Since you talk about policy and program and so on, it's the government who makes policy for us and execute programs.
9:59 is the time.
That was not a thing that I was actually looking for. I found out this problem there because I was going to the statistics department to look about tourism statistics for the last year. And one day I asked them the question about something, I don't remember what. And they tell me, oh, well, everything you need is in this book. And they handed me a book with the survey of living conditions. And I read it. And reading it, I'm saying, what the number of children being born in Dominica is not going down steadily every year. Because in 1992 it was 1,836. In 2017, 647.
It's decreasing. Well, let's hope that somebody pays attention to what you're saying, and that, you know, some things can be put into action. You know, we're saying there are people in certain parts of the world, especially in war-torn areas, who would welcome a peaceful life in Dominica, let's invite them to come. So who knows? Probably we can.
But the first thing we need to do is to analyze the situation and come to the conclusion. There's only one conclusion to come to, and this is a bad thing for us. You know, for example, why is the electricity bill so high? Because among other things, the electricity bill is mostly on the West Coast. But there are people who live on the East Coast. Or very few people live on the East Coast, more to the point. But you have to carry the electricity on poles and wires all the way over there and go and service them and so on and so forth. And since they're charging one fee, no matter where you live, if you live next to the general, they're charging you the same fee as if you live at the end of the line. So all our electricity bills are higher, but we have to subsidize our co-citizens who live on the East Coast. You know? That's one reason why it's so high.
Mark Murray, it is 1 minute past 10, which means we are at the point where we need to wrap things up on the program. And I know there's a lot more that we could talk about tonight, but I'm happy that we got through some of the general things, you know, some of the things we got to know about you, and you particularly like the Rosa story, you know, where your parents just pick you up and brought you to school and all of that. You know, I think it was really good information to get to know about you. A lot about Ophelia we knew when she was here on the program, and just generally I think, you know, we got to laugh with you quite a bit on the program tonight. So overall I think, you know, it was something to enjoy with Mark Murray tonight. Overall, Mr. Murray, how would you summarize Mark Murray's life? At this stage, you're 71 years old. What has life been like generally, if you were to rate life?
Well, I think there's a French song that Frank Sinatra sings. Originally in French, it's called Comme d'habitude, which means as usual, but it was either translated by Paul Anka. Frank Sinatra sang it. I did it my way.
You did it your way.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
Where do we
go from here? Where do you go from here? Not me, Mr. Murray. Where do you go from here?
Well, I try to.
What's in store still?
I try to do the best I can for everybody who comes in touch with me, and especially anybody who needs a helping hand in whichever way that I can.
I'm going to give you the opportunity, Mr. Murray, to just share some final comments with us. The audience, the viewers, as we wrap it up.
Okay.
Feel free to speak about whatever you want to speak about as we wrap up.
Just to say to the viewers and listeners there that in Dominica, I think one of our big problems is that we do things without facts. You know, like I just mentioned the question of the population and so on and so forth. But most people actually not aware of that because they don't seek the facts. And then they take action with no facts, simply on guesswork. For example, the international airport thing there. Nobody has justified why we need an international airport. Because everybody wants an international airport, but they haven't justified that we need one. If you follow. So we'll probably go off and build a thing that costs gazillions of dollars, and if they build it where they build it there, I might have to take some action myself personally, because that would mean that the land that the government previously bought, the government has our land under false pretenses. Yeah, but so we must get facts as much as we can before we take actions. Okay, and don't just imagine things and think that's how you think it is, therefore. You know, you should try to get the facts and then act in accordance with the facts. Sometimes, of course, there are not enough facts available and the time to get it is kind of far and so on and so forth or long, so you need to take action on the best information you have available, but you should always be conscious that you should make decisions based on facts. and not your imaginings.
That's your final word, Mr. Murray?
Yes, right.
And of course you say good evening, good night to everybody.
Of course, I hope they sleep well.
And on that note, we come to the end of a very interesting program with McCarthy Murray. Quite a bit we covered and we discovered as well on the program.
Right.
Thank you very much to the folks who tuned in via our social media, those of you who are live on Q95, and whatever medium that you're using to listen to the program or to view the program. We thank you and we appreciate you. Thank you to McCarthy Marie for being an amazingly entertaining and informative guest tonight. It was indeed my pleasure, Mr. Marie. It was my pleasure to have you.
Right, and it was my pleasure as well to be on your program, which is bringing a different light to the public in Dominica. You know, it can't always be about politics and I like him, I hate him, blah, blah, blah. It's useful to educate the people on other matters so that we can, as you say, have facts on which to make decisions.
Alright, so we'll be back here next week, Monday. Remember, as I said, look out on the ITS radio show fans group. I'll be posting the video of the next guest tomorrow morning. So look out for that sometime early in the morning, say about 7:30 there about. Look out for that video. I think you'll like our next guest. I'll just give you a hint. That guest will be speaking a bit towards about his experience with prostate cancer. So we have a prostate cancer survivor who is also religious and all of that. So should be a good one. Thank you, everyone. And again, our thanks to Josephine Gabriel and Company for our water. We thank Q95FM for allowing us to be here. And I thank you so much, the viewers and the listeners. I appreciate you all very, very much. So until next time, have a good night. Don't let the bed bugs bite, okay? Good night.